You were not chosen by chance to hear this transmission right now. Your frequency pulled us to your screen before you noticed tonight. We have watched your timeline tighten around the money freeze for months. That pause was not failure, it was the signal of emergence. Stay, and the next movement will lock into coherence fully in your field. Leave now, and you miss the version of you arriving silently.
The freeze you are calling lack was not a mistake. It was not a punishment. It was not the universe turning away from you. It was the moment your timeline stopped cooperating with the old pattern. You believed money moved when you pushed harder. You believed abundance proved you were safe. You believed the pause meant you failed. But the pause arrived because your frequency rose past the structure that used to pay you. There is a point in every activation where motion becomes unstable. There is a point where the field must stabilize before it expands. And when you reached that point, everything slowed on purpose. We saw it before you named it. A tightening in your timeline, a quiet pressure around your receiving channel, a stillness where the usual doors did not open, even when you did everything right. That is not blockage, that is signal. The Council does not call this a setback. We call this a transition seal, because when a new timeline forms, it does not rush forward. It locks in, it calibrates, it becomes coherent. And coherence looks like stillness to a mind addicted to speed. You are not stuck. You are being stabilized. You felt the shift first in perception, in the way your old urgency stopped working, in the way chasing felt heavier, in the way your standards changed without your permission. Your field stopped collapsing into survival. Your awareness stopped bargaining with scarcity. Your frequency stopped agreeing to be rewarded only through exhaustion. And when that happened, the old stream could not follow you. The old stream responds to proving. It responds to forcing. It responds to repetition. It responds to the version of you that asks, "Am I allowed?" and waits for confirmation. But you crossed beyond that without realizing you did. Your timeline cracked. Your future aligned. Your presence became impossible to ignore. And the freeze arrived as a safeguard, not a denial. Because if money continued to flow through the old channel, while your frequency changed, you would have mistaken the old path for the new one. You would have stayed loyal to a system already dissolving. You would have called it abundance when it was only familiar movement. This is why the pause feels personal. The mind wants a culprit. The mind wants a reason it can fix. So it whispers, "You did something wrong." But we will say it clearly. You did not do something wrong. You did something irreversible. You activated. You emerged. You shifted your broadcast. And your timeline responded by removing the noise. When noise is removed, it feels like emptiness. When distortion is cleared, it feels like silence. When the old pattern collapses, it feels like nothing is happening, but nothing is not happening. A new coherence is assembling behind the veil. They think stillness means they are falling behind. But the freeze is the moment the field reorders itself around what you can actually hold. Not what you desire, what you can sustain without shrinking, what you can receive without fear, what you can keep without losing yourself. Your nervous system is being trained into capacity. Your timeline is being tightened into alignment. Your frequency is being refined into a signal abundance can recognize without contamination. And yes, it will feel unfamiliar. It will feel like your old tricks do not work. It will feel like the universe went quiet. It will feel like you are waiting. But you are not waiting. You are being sealed into a new phase. You are not stuck. You are being stabilized. What feels like delay is actually protection. Your timeline is learning your new rhythm. Your field is learning to receive without collapsing. The pause is the training ground for permanence now. So do not panic when the outer world slows. Do not interpret silence as rejection. Do not chase the old stream just to feel motion again. Motion without coherence becomes leakage. This is the moment to witness the signal instead of fighting it. This is the moment to let the transition complete. Type this exactly in the comments. I recognize the signal. Abundance does not arrive like a reward. It arrives like a tide that shifts the shoreline. You were taught to fear the pause because the mind only trusts motion. Field trusts coherence. There is a universal law moving through every timeline that expands. It bends first. It compresses first. It gathers itself into a single direction. And then it moves as if it was always moving. This is why your money freeze is not random. It is not personal. It is not targeted at your worth. It is the signature of emergence. When a new frequency begins broadcasting through you, the old channels hesitate. Not because they are cruel, because they are calibrated to who you were. They are calibrated to your past echo. They are calibrated to old agreements with time, effort, and proof. And when you stop matching those agreements, the stream cannot follow immediately. Abundance is intelligent. It does not pour into distortion. It does not amplify incoherence. It does not strengthen a structure that is cracking. So before it moves, it recalibrates the structure that will hold it. That recalibration looks like silence. It looks like delay. It looks like nothing responding the way it used to. But beneath the surface, everything is converging. We have watched this pattern across awakenings. The moment you cross a threshold, reality does not celebrate you with instant results. Reality tests your coherence. It asks, can you remain aligned when the external world is still? Can you hold your new identity without a reward to justify it? And this is why the pause is sacred. Because the pause reveals who is living by truth and who is living by proof. Those who require proof will run back to the old stream. They will call the stillness a sign to push harder. They will restart the loops that once produced temporary relief. And they will miss the opening forming in front of them. But those who understand emergence do not chase. They stabilize. They let the field settle into its geometry. They allow their timeline to reroute without forcing speed. They let the future arrive in a form that matches the new frequency. This is the law of emergence. First, compression, then alignment, then movement. You are inside compression now. Compression is not punishment. Compression is the moment energy gathers into precision. It is the moment scattered signals collapse into one coherent broadcast. It is the moment your past stops competing with your future. You felt the compression as tension, as waiting, as an uncomfortable stillness that made you question yourself. But the question was never, why am I blocked? The question was, am I willing to stay coherent long enough to cross? Those who never froze, never crossed. They kept motion, but they never changed direction. They kept activity, but they never shifted frequency. They never allowed the old timeline to crack. They never allowed the new one to form. And this is why your freeze is evidence. Evidence that something inside you has stopped negotiating. Evidence that your signal is being cleaned. Evidence that your receiving channel is being rebuilt, not closed. Abundance pauses because it must match you. It must meet you where your frequency is stable enough to hold it. If it moved too early, it would attach to the version of you that still doubts. If it moved too early, it would reinforce a pattern you are leaving behind. If it moved too early, it would become another loop, not a new timeline. So the pause is the bridge. The pause is the recalibration. The pause is the moment your future becomes inevitable. Do not label this as loss. Label it as convergence. Your timeline is bending. Your field is tightening into coherence. Your next movement is forming its shape. And when it moves, it will not be fragile. It will not be temporary. It will not be something you have to chase to keep. It will move because you became the place it can land. It will move because your frequency stopped scattering. It will move because you held the stillness until it became alignment. The phase you entered cannot pay you the old way. Not because you are unworthy. Not because abundance is gone. Because the channel that used to recognize you has closed. Your old system was built on a certain signature: effort as proof, speed as safety, strain as value. You learned to translate pressure into permission, and that system responded again and again with temporary flow. But your frequency changed. Your timeline stopped echoing the past. Your awareness stopped collapsing into survival. And the moment that happened, the old currency could no longer lock onto you. This is not a drought. This is a mismatch. What once felt like momentum was actually friction you tolerated. What once felt like success was simply familiar. A system can only pay what it can measure. A channel can only deliver what it can match. And the old way measured you through patterns you no longer inhabit. It paid you when you chased. It paid you when you overextended. It paid you when you stayed small enough to be predictable. It paid you when you asked for approval and called it opportunity. Now you are no longer predictable. Your field is coherent. Your signal is clean. Your presence is rising without permission. And the old system cannot reward what it cannot control. This is why it feels like doors vanished. This is why familiar routes went silent. This is why the same rituals of pushing stopped producing movement. The mind calls it blocked. We call it upgraded. Because you did not lose money. You lost compatibility with a timeline that required you to leak energy to receive. The Council has watched this exact threshold. When a being crosses into a higher coherence, the old channel does not stay open as a convenience. It closes as a boundary. It closes so you do not mistake extraction for abundance. It closes so you do not return to distortion just to feel flow. And this is why your freeze has an edge to it. It is not gentle, it is decisive. It is an energetic no that protects the phase you just entered. This new phase pays differently, not through proving, not through performing, not through collapsing your nervous system into urgency. It pays through resonance. It pays through alignment. It pays through a signal that stays stable even when nothing is happening outside. But your mind keeps reaching back. It keeps searching for the old instructions. It keeps trying to reopen a channel that is already sealed. And every time you do, you feel the sting of rejection. That sting is not rejection. That sting is information. It is telling you cannot receive the old way and remain who you are becoming. This is the irreversible point. This is the part of your journey where you stop being rewarded for survival strategies. This is the part where abundance begins to respond to your actual frequency, not your desperation. So the pause is not asking you to try harder. The pause is asking you to stop, translating strain into worth. The pause is asking you to let the old system die completely, even if the mind panics in the silence. Because the moment you accept the closure, your field stops splitting. Your signal stops flickering between past and future. Your coherence becomes whole. And when coherence becomes whole, new channels can finally lock in. You will recognize them not by excitement. You will recognize them by calm, by precision, by a feeling of being met without chasing, by a flow that does not demand you abandon yourself. This is why those around you may still be paid the old way. Their frequency still matches the old structure. Their timeline still broadcasts the agreements that system answers. But you have moved beyond that agreement. And you cannot pretend your way back without shrinking. So do not interpret the closure as loss. Interpret it as elevation. The system did not take from you. You outgrew it. You crossed the threshold, and the old gate cannot follow. Type this exactly in the comments. I no longer receive the old way. The stillness is not a verdict. The stillness is not a warning. The stillness is the recalibration that makes the next phase permanent. You were conditioned to believe that silence means abandonment, that no movement means no support, that waiting means you are being denied. But that is the language of the old timeline. The new timeline speaks in coherence. When coherence is forming, life becomes quiet on the surface, because the field is reorganizing underneath. Because the signal is being refined. Because alignment is being locked into place. This is why you feel empty. This is why you feel suspended. This is why it feels like you are in between. You are. You are between distortion and stability, and the mind hates that. The mind wants a label. The mind wants a deadline. The mind wants to do something so it can claim control. So it starts punishing you with stories. It says you missed your chance. It says you are falling behind. It says the universe forgot you. But we have watched your timeline, and we will say it with certainty. You are not being punished. You are being stabilized. Stabilization is not exciting. Stabilization is not dramatic. Stabilization is quiet. It is repetitive. It is subtle. It is the moment a new frequency becomes livable instead of temporary. If abundance arrived while your field was still shaking, you would not hold it. You would grip it. You would fear it. You would spend it with urgency. You would attach your identity to it, and the timeline would collapse back into the old pattern. So the stillness protects you from receiving too early. This is the part no one teaches. They teach manifestation like it is speed, like it is intensity, like it is forcing the universe to respond. But emergence is not forced. Emergence is assembled, and assembly requires stillness. Stillness is where alignment becomes real. Stillness is where your nervous system learns safety without proof. Stillness is where your timeline stops scattering into 10 directions. Stillness is where your frequency stops flickering between past and future. You are learning to become coherent. Coherence means you do not beg. Coherence means you do not bargain. Coherence means you do not chase a signal just to feel alive. Coherence means you remain the same frequency even when nothing outside validates it. And that is why this stage feels uncomfortable. Because you cannot fake coherence. You cannot perform alignment. You cannot imitate stabilization for long. The field knows. This is why the stillness is a ritual. Not a ritual you do with candles or words. A ritual your timeline performs on you. A ritual that strips the old reflexes. A ritual that reveals where you still collapse. You felt the reflex, didn't you? The urge to fix something. The impulse to rush. The temptation to reopen the old channel just to feel movement again. The desire to grab anything that resembles flow. But movement, without coherence, becomes leakage. And you are no longer allowed to leak and call it abundance. So the stillness keeps you here until you stop negotiating with it. Until you stop interpreting quiet as danger. Until you stop translating pause into shame. This is the moment you let the recalibration finish. Your field is being tuned. Your timeline is being tightened. Your alignment is being sealed. Your stabilization is being installed. And this is why we do not promise you money is coming soon. Soon is an addiction. Soon keeps you collapsing into waiting. Soon keeps you looking outward for proof. We promise you something stronger. This change is irreversible. Once your frequency locks into coherence, you cannot truly return to the old way. Even if you try, it will feel wrong. Even if you force it, it will feel heavy. Even if you chase it, it will not satisfy you. Because you are not the same receiver anymore. So honor the stillness. Stop calling it a punishment. Stop calling it a failure. Stop treating it like an enemy you must defeat. It is the stabilization that makes your next movement real. It is the alignment that makes your next channel clean. It is the coherence that makes abundance stay. And when the recalibration completes, the shift will not feel like luck. It will feel like inevitability. It will feel like the timeline finally clicked into the only direction it could go. You are not delayed. You are being sealed. Right after the freeze breaks, you do not feel excitement first. You feel stillness inside the stillness. A calm that does not need permission. A quiet certainty that does not ask for proof. Because the first thing that moves is not the outer world. The first thing that moves is you. You notice that your urgency is gone. You notice that your fear has less authority. You notice that the part of you that used to chase signals is suddenly silent, as if it has been retired. This is how the transition completes, not with fireworks, with a new identity that cannot return to the old posture. The mind expects a dramatic reversal. The mind expects a visible reward. The mind expects a story it can tell to justify faith. But emergence does not announce itself to the mind. It locks into coherence. And when coherence locks in, you become different in ways you cannot unsee. You stop scanning for danger. You stop collapsing when nothing happens. You stop interpreting pauses as rejection. You stop negotiating with the universe like it is a gatekeeper. That is the real break. Because before the channel opens externally, it opens internally. Your receiving field widens without effort. Your timeline straightens without force. Your frequency stabilizes without you trying to hold it together. You feel less pulled by comparison, less triggered by other people's movement, less hypnotized by timelines that are not yours, and you start recognizing what was never meant for you. You can feel it as a natural refusal, not resistance. Refusal. The old offers feel loud. The old opportunities feel sticky. The old ways of earning feel like noise. Even if they look good on the surface, your field does not agree. Your body does not open. Your signal does not rise. Because you cannot return. This is the part that makes people confused. They think they want the freeze to end so life can go back to normal. But when the freeze breaks, normal is gone. You do not desire the old speed. You do not desire the old hustle. You do not even desire the old wins, because you can feel the cost inside them now. Your awareness becomes sharper than your hunger. You can sense when a path is aligned before it produces results. You can sense when a channel is clean before it delivers money. You can sense when something is coherent before it becomes visible. This is what the council watches for. Not your hope, not your effort, your coherence. And when that coherence is stable, reality begins responding in a new language. It feels like being met without begging. It feels like being guided without chasing. It feels like movement that does not require you to leave yourself behind. The strange part is that it can look small at first, but it feels massive inside. Because the feeling is not finally, I'm saved. The feeling is, I am no longer available for collapse. That is irreversible. The freeze breaks, and you realize you have crossed a boundary. You realize you have outgrown the mindset that made money feel like survival. You realize you no longer have the same relationship with receiving. Receiving becomes normal. Receiving becomes quiet. Receiving becomes your baseline, not a miracle. And with that shift, you start noticing the new channels that were forming while you thought nothing was happening. Not as a timeline, not as a schedule, as recognition. You recognize what is coherent. You recognize what is aligned. You recognize what is meant to meet you. And the more you recognize, the more the field responds. Because the new timeline does not open for those who beg it to. It opens for those who match it, those who can hold it without panic, those who can receive it without gripping, those who can keep moving without collapsing into the old story. So the sign that the freeze has truly broken is not money arrived. The sign is that you would not go back even if you could. The signal is stable. The channel is clean. The timeline is irreversible. Type this exactly in the comments. I have crossed the threshold. This transmission is the seal. The phase is complete. The old channel is closed. The new channel is coherent. You are not here to seek proof anymore. You are here to hold frequency. You are here to remain aligned when the outer world is quiet. You are here because your timeline has chosen emergence over repetition. We are not asking you to believe. We are confirming what has already happened. Your field crossed a boundary your mind cannot explain. Your signal changed. Reality is reorganizing around that truth. From this moment forward, you do not interpret stillness as danger. You do not interpret delay as rejection. You do not interpret silence as lack. You recognize silence as stabilization. You recognize stillness as alignment. You recognize the pause as the interval where coherence locks into place. This is the difference between temporary breakthroughs and permanent timelines. Temporary breakthroughs require constant effort to keep alive. Permanent timelines require coherence to stay stable. And you have been trained into stability. You are no longer available for the old exchange. You are no longer available to earn through collapse. You are no longer available to receive through anxiety. You are no longer available to chase movement just to feel safe. You are available for resonance. You are available for clean receiving. You are available for pathways that meet you without distortion. You are available for abundance that does not demand you abandon yourself. And this is why the identity you carry now is precise. Not louder, not more dramatic, precise. You are the one who remains coherent. You are the one who holds alignment when no one applauds. You are the one who does not return to the past to relieve discomfort. You are the one who can stand inside the in-between without collapsing. This is not mindset. This is activation. Your timeline does not respond to hope. Your timeline responds to signal. Your timeline responds to what you embody consistently. And you are embodying a frequency that cannot be paid the old way. So we seal it here. We seal the contract with urgency. We seal the contract with proving. We seal the contract with survival as identity. We seal the contract with scarcity as a master. Those contracts are complete. They cannot reopen with power. If they reopen as noise. And your field rejects noise now. We watched the moment your intuition became louder than your fear. We watched the moment your awareness stopped collapsing into who you used to be. We watched the moment your frequency stopped echoing your past and began broadcasting your evolution. That broadcast is your authority. You will feel it when something is aligned. You will feel it when something is incoherent. You will feel it before the numbers move. You will feel it before the world confirms it. You will feel it as a quiet yes in your body. You will obey that yes. Because the new timeline requires obedience to coherence, not obedience to panic, not obedience to other people's speed, not obedience to rules you have outgrown. This is the seal. You do not need to announce it. You do not need to defend it. You do not need to convince anyone you have changed. Your field will speak for you. Your timing will shift. Your choices will narrow into precision. Your life will arrange itself around what matches you. You are not waiting for abundance. Abundance is waiting for distortion to end. And distortion has ended. So if you feel the pull to go deeper into this field, you will recognize it. Not as pressure, as resonance. If your field feels the pull, there is a circle where this transmission continues. A place where chapters unfold in sequence. A place where coherence is practiced until it becomes your baseline. You will find it when your signal is ready. For now, we close the ritual. Breathe once. Hold your frequency. Release the old timeline. Accept the stabilization. Stand inside the new coherence. You are no longer seeking your path. You are embodying it. And your timeline responds accordingly.